So you have gaps in your employment and you're currently in the job market and you're not quite sure how to deal with this on your resume and in your interview. You're concerned that this is potentially going to hold you back in your job search. In today's video, I'm going to help you deal with this problem. Hey guys, it's Matthew here, back with another video inspiring you ambitious people to succeed in your career. So if you have resume gaps, generally you're going to have one of three scenarios. The first one is a previous work gap. So it's 2021 now at time of filming. Maybe for a period in 2018 for 6 months or a year, whatever, you weren't working. Okay, so that's what we call a previous work gap. The second one is a current gap, less than a year. So you're not employed at the moment and you've only been looking for less than a year. So let's say, for example, 6 months. And the third one, which is probably the most challenging, is you've got a current gap that is longer than a year. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you how to deal with all three of these scenarios. Please be sure to watch the end where I will share some templates of resumes, cover letters, and interview answers that you can use, particularly to deal with the current gap that is longer than a year. Also, I've put timestamps in the video, so if there's any part that you particularly want to jump forward to, I know your time is precious, more than welcome, happy to help. All right, so let's start with the previous work gap. It's not really that much of an issue. Recruiters and hiring managers are most interested in your most recent experience. And in this case, you're probably just going to need some kind of explanation. If it's a few months, I wouldn't even bother putting anything on it on your resume. I doubt you'd even get a question on it in the interview. But if you do, just have an explanation. You were battling to get a job at the time, or you were doing some training, or you were just taking a break. It's no big deal. If it was longer than sort of 6 months, I would make sure that you specify what you were doing in that gap on your resume. So you say from December 2019 until June 2020, for example, this is what you were doing, and you give it a short description, just so that you don't have this weird void, and you also don't seem to be, looks like you're trying to hide something. So just have that transparency, be authentic, be honest. But I wouldn't be too concerned about it now. I would steer the conversation more towards your current situation and the most recent experience that you've got. Okay, so the second one, you have a current gap and it's less than a year. Okay, so firstly, I think hiring managers are aware of the fact that it has just been hard to get work right now, right? So it's a plausible explanation that you've been struggling to find work. But I would personally advise that you always have a little bit more to show than I've been looking for work. I would say I've been looking for work and I've been volunteering, consulting, upskilling, doing courses. Just make sure that you can say that you've been adding value to yourself while you've been in the job search window. So it's important to show growth. The reality is you are not intentionally unemployed, and that's fine. But as long as you're continuously working on yourself and you're staying current, you'll be okay. Just some advice and some things to steer away from saying. Don't ever say, I've gone to loads of interviews and I just can't get a job. That is what I would call a career death move. That is basically saying I am chronically unemployable. Under no circumstances ever say that. As an alternative, what you can say is, I've been on interviews, but due to the scarcity of suitable jobs, I'm still looking for the right opportunity. Much better. Now imagine you say that and then you add an and I've been doing some volunteer work, or and I've been doing some training, or and I've been doing a course here, or whatever the case might be. That will just really come across as this is a strong candidate. Just a little bit of bad luck, but we need to grab this person quickly. Just a tip in particular for interview templates. I don't believe in long answers. I think the longer the answer, the more chances are that you will get confused or you'll stuff up the line, especially if it comes across massively rehearsed. You're under pressure, you'll be stressed, you'll be nervous. The shorter the answer, the better. I would rather teach people to say a lot with as few words as possible. Alrighty, the third one, the current gap that is longer than a year. To be honest with you, you've got a problem here because hiring managers are risk averse. They're going to look at someone that's been out of the job market for longer than a year and be reluctant to hire you. The perception that you'll automatically be on the back foot, that you're going to be needing to change, is that you are unemployable. That being said, however, keep in mind that at the end of the day, any vacancy, the suitability of a candidate comes down to skills, experience, and aptitude. So that's always a consolation you can keep in mind. So if you've got good skills, experience, and aptitude and a gap, this is a problem you can overcome, but I'm going to give you some more tools that are going to make this easier. And the magic here really is you need to convince your prospective employer that you have been intentionally unemployed. Nobody is going to take comfort if you have been unemployed unintentionally for well over a year. It is very important that you come up with a good explanation as to why you have been intentionally unemployed for over a year. And on top of that, you need to assure them that you have not missed a beat and you are more employable than you have ever been before. It sounds like a tall order, but this is how we do it. Okay, there's a couple of legit reasons for being intentionally unemployed. You went back to school. You were traveling, although in this day and age, that might not be such a good one anymore. You were caring for a sick loved one. You were sick yourself. You were volunteering. You tried self-employment. These are all pretty good examples of a plausible reason, or a reason that can be accepted, where somebody go, okay, so you were unemployed by choice. So what you do, starting with your resume, is you list this gap as a form of what you would call unconventional employment. So while you don't have a job where you're working for an employer, you are working on something, whether you are a full-time caregiver of somebody who is sick, whether you're a full-time traveler who is going around the world, whether you are a full-time volunteer that is uplifting and helping charities, that is for all intents and purposes your job. So you need to mention this in your cover letter, but also place more emphasis on your experience and skills. So it's there, it's mentioned, it's out the way, and then direct the attention to why you're a good fit for the job. So what I want to do to end off this video is I want to pick one of the examples, and I'm going to apply what I would use, or how I would mention this in the cover letter, how I would cover this in my resume, and how I would answer this interview question. And I'm going to pick the caring for a sick family member, because I think that's probably one of the more difficult ones. So in my resume section, I'm going to write, from March 2019 until Jan 2021, I was the primary caregiver to my mother who has cancer. And then I'm going to have 2 lines to explain what those duties and responsibilities more or less entailed. During this time, I was the primary caregiver to my mother, taking her to her doctor's appointments and tending to her needs at home due to her lack of mobility. And then in the second line, you write something along the lines of, during this time, I've been learning about blockchain and fintech business, and I managed to complete some short courses on XYZ. All right, so this shows that you've stayed current, that you've grown, and by the way, if you haven't done the courses yet, shh, just do them now quickly. Nobody's watching, it'll be okay. But it's very important that not only do you explain what it was that you were doing, but also show that you always did your utmost to stay relevant in a continuously evolving business world. That's it. That's all you need to put onto your resume. As long as it's not too long and authentic, you should be okay. All right, so now I'm going to give you not the entire cover letter, but just the component that makes reference to this gap and what you write to plug that little hole, okay? So this is what you write. I've been out of the job market for some time, caring for my sick mother. Thankfully, things have turned around for her and I'm now able to get back into the job market and put my 10 years of experience and additional skills I've acquired to good use. So you can see that's what I was doing. Things are better now. I'm ready. And by the way, I'm a strong candidate. And in the interview, you're going to get the question and you're going to say this. Yes, I cared for my sick mother for 2 years. It was a big challenge, a big step up for me, a big step out of my comfort zone, as I had never been the primary caregiver for anybody before. It was really tough at first, but I just made it work for my mom's sake. and we have never been closer as a result of it. I'm delighted to say that she's pulled through, and she is incredibly excited for me to get back into the job market and to see me back at work again. And again, you'll make reference to the skills you required while you were in this. So you'll say, I did a course here, a course there. I always knew that I would eventually get back to work, but this just had to be my priority during this time. At the end of the day, the whole process from cover letter to resume to interview is about communication. So you put communication out there, and that is the message that you send. The message that we send and the message that we want to be received based on this approach is as follows. What came across? In this example, what came across is that this candidate is selfless, loyal, dedicated, and if she has the skills and the aptitude for this role, she will most certainly be an excellent employee. He or she, sorry, I don't know why I made it a she, but he or she will be an excellent employee in our organization. That is what will come through if you follow this approach to the way you communicate your gap. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it's all about. Is you have a gap, own it, and use it as an opportunity to bring a strong message about who you are through to this organization that wants to hire you. I'm not going to do every scenario because the video will just take forever. You're more than welcome to reach out to me on my socials. They're all linked in the description box below, where you would like me to cover one of the others, maybe traveling, maybe volunteering, maybe self-employment, whatever the case might be. Or leave a comment below on the ones you'd like me to cover. I'll either make a dedicated video, or I'll gladly just respond to you on any of your socials with a template configured specifically for your situation for absolutely free. This is why I do this, just to help people, because I really, really enjoy it. The only thing I ask is you please hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with another video. Until then, stay safe, and I will see you soon.